That was the theme and the groove and the melody, the chord progression of a piece that I wrote called Hope in C Wahine Tuning, C, G, D, G, B, and E. This song is a lot of fun to play. It's really meant to be really elaborated on while going through this progression, adding variations and things. And there's a walking bass line that's really fun. The bass line is based on a C chord. You play the bass, then the chord. There are a lot of upbeats. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. There are also a lot of anticipated chords. 1, 2, 3 and 1 and 2. The chord changes right before the bass note comes in. And so basically we do a C chord. Then I like to, sometimes I use my second finger or third finger on the 4th fret. And then I move to 2 and 3 playing this F chord, but then my pinky plays the F, low F in the bass. Then open strings back to C. Now if we really carefully count it out, it goes 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. So you could really get the feel of the piece just by working on those first 2 measures. And I wrote fingerings in for the left hand. I use my pinky here, but sometimes I like to, like I mentioned, slide the second finger out. But I'll use the pinky here. That's the first measure. And see how this F chord comes on the end of 4 before the bass note comes in. 1, 2, 3, and here, 4 bass, then G bass. C bass. There's all this anticipation. Now I use some unusual chords. I want to play this E7 from the 5th string, 1, 0, 1, 0, 0. But I use my second finger because that's going to pull up. Usually you use your first finger, but I use the second finger on the 5th string, first finger on the 3rd string, so it's easy then to get into this A minor, 2, 1, 1. 5th string, then 3rd finger goes on the 3rd string, then 1st finger on the 2nd. Then we go to G open, and I'm setting up this high 5 and 7 to add the 6th fret in the bass. It's actually a really nice inversion of a D7 chord, or D chord. We have D, but I'm putting in the 3rd, F sharp in the bass. It's an unusual chord, not hard to play though, but 6 on the 6th string, and then 7 and 5, 4th and 3rd string. Then I do this quick little hammer on. A slide works as well. To G. Then the melody comes in and on an upbeat. You can change the rhythms, the placement here and there, but that's the general idea of the groove of the song and the concept that I have for it. You start with that. I'm going to show you a melody that goes over this, and then you solo, then you go back to the groove, you go back to the melody. It's all pretty free, and I like putting in just a lot of, it should be, you put a lot of emotion into the piece and make it yours, make it your own. I do some blues sort of phrasing in it, but basically I just try to follow through the chord tones and through the chord progression, which is C, F, G, C, 2, 3, 4, F, E7, A minor, G, D7, then G7 for 2 bars. Now many times when I'm deep into the song, I really extend this G7. You can just go to town with it, and then every now and then I throw in, like I did when we get to page 2, this little F minor, but sometimes you can put that over a G bass note. So it's really like a G altered. G7, but it's got this flat 9, it's got some tension in there, it's got the suspended note, so it's a very pretty sound. When the melody comes in, there's this little pickup going into measure 9. All those anticipations, so now it's more melodic. Now here fingering is important. So I'm going to use my 3rd finger and then move it up. So you could really try to work on the bass line first. Sometimes, like I said, I use the 2nd finger to the 3rd so I can slide, but 3rd is fine. Now, little part of a C chord, the bass note, 5th fret, 1st finger pinky plays, then you play the G, let it ring. So you get this melody. 2, 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1. It's floating on all these upbeats. 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and all the ends, that's when the melody comes. And with the really heavy downbeat of the bass, it creates this really nice contrast. Here I do the same idea of using my second finger on the bass for the G sharp going to the A minor. Then we're back to what we played earlier. I do variations on that, but that's the general idea. G, you could repeat that into page 2, but really you could just repeat what we just played over and over again. But I save this, the minor chord, or the G altered you could call it here. Be real sparse, real soft. Sometimes I change where the bass is placed, you know, in order to allow different notes to come out in the melody. Here's that minor chord. Melody. Little rhythmic variation, the G sharp, A minor, the cool D7. Now I mentioned blues, I might do things like these little hammer-on double stops and a very you can do a C major pentatonics, like an A minor pentatonic. Including a little bluesy note there. 5, 7, 5, 7. There's this little box that moves up. 8, 10, 8, 10, 12 on the high strings. Sometimes I do that. Other times I play more of a minor pentatonic, which is going to sound really intense. So I put in some blues licks over the C sometimes. And then when you get to the E7, you really bring out those G sharps. That pulls you nicely to the A. When you play these D7, you really bring out the F sharps. So that brings out the sound of a D7 chord. So you can really use this song to get to know some harmony through these chords. It's basically a C scale, but you can sneak in some blues. You can sneak in those G sharps over the E chord, pulling to the A minor. You can put in those F sharps to bring out the sound of D7. So there are some little subtle changes. And I put those note names as slash chords, so you know that G sharp is appropriate to play over the E7, and then the F sharp over the D7. It'll take, of course, getting to know where your notes are a little bit, but you can start to learn some shapes. Study the C Wahine worksheet, and it'll give you some ideas. After you've gone back and forth, you know, played the melody, done some improv, play the melody again, it ends with just the basic groove. Measure 25, like we did in the very beginning. Then I threw in a little blues lick here over G. So I'm sliding up to the 5th fret with the 3rd finger, 3rd fret, then back down with a pull-off. If you want to slide from the 4th fret, it's even more bluesy. Then 2, 0, you can do a pull-off, and then you can even do a hammer-on. So some of those, the ideas for the double stops, you do a bar at the 3rd fret, hammer on the 2nd string to the 5th fret. Same idea is often done up here. You hold down your 2nd finger on the 8th fret, hammer on 7 to 9 on the 3rd string over C. When you get to the A minor, you can really go for it with the A minor pentatonic kind of sound over that chord. F chord, G, hear a lot of blues guitarists do this. Jimi Hendrix did it really beautifully in songs like Axis Bold as Love and Little Wing, other songs like that. So that is the song Hope in C Wahine Tuning.